Hi everyone, I'm Logan J Parker, dropping by to tell you about the release of my new single Blue and to tell you that I'll be appearing on the UK Americana Bar TV show soon. I'm really excited and I can't wait. But meanwhile, please be safe and I'll see you soon.
Coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee, it is the UK Americana Bar, and I'm talking with a couple friends of mine, and you may already know them from going to their website and things like that. It is Christie and Walter Carter, the owner of Carter Vintage Guitars here in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Glad to be.
You know, I couldn't think of a better destination place for, visitors coming from the UK, Europe, anywhere, and also here in Nashville and around the U.S. than your music store, which opened in 2013. And you guys combined have over 50 years of vintage guitar experience between you.
Yes, we probably have 60 years.
And you're holding up so well. Yeah. It's amazing, and a lot of people don't realize, Christie, how knowledgeable you are on the instruments, with the buying and the trading and selling and everything. And then obviously, too, with you, Walter, being previously a Gibson historian. And with multiple books to your credit, and I think I own most of those books. And so it's great catching up with you guys. But we were talking earlier how you get visitors from all over the world. I know I've been in here like around NAMM show time, and I'll be standing next to somebody looking at guitars, and they're from Japan.
Right. And we have Australian and the UK and people from England and Canada and all over the world.
It's just amazing now. Do you guys get a lot of people like buying instruments here then too and then taking them back, or they come to visit, I'm sure they buy, the t-shirts and accessories and everything. But here on 8th Street, you guys you need a bigger parking lot.
We do, and a bigger building. Yeah. But yes, people buy here and take them with them, we ship, and they're just all of the above.
Yeah, it runs the complete range from people looking for something that says Nashville, basic tourist,
right,
all the way to somebody who's here on a mission to buy a certain guitar or an expensive guitar.
Well, and I'm amazed too, and Christie, you've always been so kind to where when you have different artists in, like Jason Isbell and Joe Bonamassa and like all these amazing artists that come through here, and they're buying here as well, but also they just like to come and hang out and try out all your cool vintage instruments.
Yeah, and we just treat them like they're the guy next door.
Yeah, that was in our business plan, to have a comfortable place for guitars and the people who love them.
Right. Well, yeah, and also, Walter, I think it speaks well, for your music store here in Nashville, in that you guys have a full line of books and everything up front. When I came by the other day, I saw a gentleman walking out with like 4 or 5 books. I don't know if he had you autograph those or not, but I could tell he had an armful of new books that he just bought. And you guys probably have one of the biggest selections of music instrument books in town, don't you think?
Right. They're not too many places you can buy guitar books.
Including the one that comes in its own guitar case.
Yeah, well, it has a pet book with it. It's 2 books in one.
Well, now let's talk a little bit too. Speaking of, unique destinations, many people, that come into your shop also want to see the special collections and pieces you guys have. And if our viewers remember a few years ago, you guys had the first Gibson Les Paul Cherry Sunburst.
Right. That was from 1958. A fella, the original owner, bought it at Hout Music in Memphis, same place Elvis bought his guitars.
Wow.
They begged it off of the traveling Gibson rep, who had it there as a demo of the new Sunburst Les Pauls that Gibson was doing. So he played it for a few years, stuck it under his bed, and then just a couple of years ago, he pulled it out and thought it might be worth something and brought it in. And from my work at Gibson, I knew from seeing it in the ledger books, as soon as I saw the serial number, what it was.
Right. He brought it to the right place.
Yes, he did.
Because nobody else, I think, has more experience to verify things than you do.
Right. Well, that one in particular. And I'd written stuff for Gibson's website when I was there that had mentioned that serial number in the description in the ledger book of that guitar.
How amazing. Well, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, but your last book that you came out with, Walter, was on mandolins.
Yes, it was. I happened to play mandolins, or mandola, actually.
And you have an album out.
Well, that was with the Nashville Mandolin Ensemble. Yes, I was a member of that group for about 15 years.
Right. But what a great book.
Yeah.
Especially for, musicians, whether country, Americana, whatever, playing the mandolin or mandola or anything. Great resource.
Well, there's a lot more involvement in our culture than just bluegrass. The mandolin goes back in America to the 1880s and sort of wove its way through different styles of music. Initially classical, and then into blues and rural string bands.
Right.
Before Bill Monroe, and then after Bill Monroe, jazz and other forms.
I just love the tonality of it. I love the sound of a good mandolin. Well, now let's talk also, we were mentioning, some of the big names that sell their instruments through here. You guys have had Steve Earle and Ed King and so many others that have sold either their collections or parts of their collection through your store.
Well, Steve was the first artist that brought us a bunch of instruments, or we had to go pick them up, actually. He was on the phone telling us what he wanted to sell, but he was lying in a hotel room.
We were opening cases and closing them.
So you guys had to go collect them.
And with each one, he started telling a story, and I'm like, okay, my phone's going to die. You have to say, keep it or sell it.
Right.
And then he would get sidetracked with the story. I'm like, okay, keep it or sell it.
As he often does.
It was so amazing that walking around the store when I came over, when you guys first got those in, and you pick up a tag, it goes, previously owned by Steve Earle. It's like, okay, well, that's a pretty interesting instrument there.
At that point, we only had a few hundred instruments, and we brought in 80 of his, so there was a good chance that, probably a 1 in 3 chance that anything we had.
I was bumping into a few of them, and then I saw in the cabinet today, you have Ed King Stratocaster that he did Sweet Home Alabama with.
Wrote and played Sweet Home Alabama on that Strat.
How amazing is that?
It's mind-boggling.
Well, and Ed used to come in here.
Oh, yeah. Ed was a good
especially with
friend.
J.D. Simo,
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now, I saw you've got an interesting acoustic guitar under glass.
Yes, it's on its own merits. It's worth probably $15. It doesn't even have 6 strings on it.
Oh my gosh!
But the history gives it some value. It was bought initially by Hank Williams. The story is that he came to town, went to Acuff Rose Publishing, and announced that he was a songwriter. And Fred Rose asked him to play some songs, and he didn't have a guitar. So Fred gave him $20, go buy a guitar, come back and play some songs. And this is the one he bought.
Really?
So it stayed around Acuff Rose as sort of the in-house publishing company guitar.
Right.
And then when Hank died, Fred Rose gave it to, I think she was about 10 years old, a young star that, or up-and-coming star that MGM Records, which had been the label that Hank was on,
right.
They had just signed her. She was from Gadsden, Alabama. Her parents were in country music. Smiley Wilson was her dad's name.
Oh, yeah.
So she kept it. I don't think she ever strung it up, but kept it all these years, and then it changed hands maybe 10 years ago, and now it's here on display and for sale.
What a piece of music history, though. It's always so much fun, though. Every time I come into Carter Vintage Guitars, it's like I never know what I'm going to see or who I'm going to bump into. And what's so great is the atmosphere, too, and obviously we're in the more vintage room right now, is that you can play them and you can plug them in and hear them and know if you want to own them. I mean, just like, with John Bollinger in earlier and so many of our friends, it's like anybody can come in. And you guys had 4 Dumble amplifiers at one time. I remember that because I thought, I've never seen 4 of these in one location.
Well, we're stocking up on them again. We have 3.
Yeah. And it does get loud, but...
Oh, yes, it does. But what a great music store that you and Christy were able to envision, though, and bring this to the Nashville community with musicians from all over the world coming in. And I always meet interesting people when I come in here. And also the big repair shop you have in the back, too, right?
Right. Yeah, we take in outside repairs, and, of course, we do repairs on our own instruments. We have some of the best repairmen that there are working on these guitars.
I totally agree, because you guys have worked on a few of my amplifiers also that are kind of near and dear to my heart. So if you care about your instruments, especially, special ones that were family ones, you want to take good care of them. And it means a lot. Anything else big coming up for Carter Vintage Guitars in 2019? Obviously, the NAMM show coming up in July.
We'll be at the NAMM show. Christy's on the board of NAMM. Straightening them out on a few issues.
They do a good job.
Right.
You have to straighten that out.
Yeah. It's just more of the same. We're trying to just make sure there's space for everything that comes in.
We're looking at a bigger building, so there could be a move.
You guys are like the Pawn Stars of guitars, to where you just need a bigger and bigger building. You need like another warehouse somewhere to accommodate all the great instruments.
We're still trying to figure out who's Chumley, but
I could play Chumley. Yeah. Yeah, if they'd only let you build another floor on this building, you guys would be okay, right?
Well, we could do that.
Yeah.
Then where do we park?
Well, I'll tell you what, once again, Christie and Walter Carter, the owners of Carter Vintage Guitars, when you come to Nashville, or even if you check them out online, you're going to see some great instruments. Also, they are so knowledgeable. If you aren't sure about what you have, they'll probably help you out on that. But if you're making a trip to the States, especially Nashville, I highly suggest you come down here to Carter Vintage Guitars. Check it out. This is the UK Americana Bar Show. I'm Eric Dahl from Nashville, Tennessee.